Chromecast stayed seconds behind no matter what I tuned. Sunshine and Moonlight finally made the KDE desktop feel responsive, and the setup has one pairing step that's exactly backwards from what you'd expect. I spent hours trying to put my KDE desktop on the living room TV. Chromecast always arrived seconds late, and changing bitrate and resolution did almost nothing about it. Here's why. Google's Cast default media receiver is built around buffered media playback. It's designed for a video file, not for an interactive desktop. That delay was never a tuning problem. It's a category mismatch. No setting fixes it because the protocol itself isn't built for this job. The fix wasn't a better casting setting. It was replacing casting with a streaming session entirely. Casting your screen usually means one of two very different things. Mirrorcast mirrors a display over Wi-Fi direct. Support and results are hardware dependent. Where it works cleanly, it's genuinely simple, good for quick mirroring or a presentation. Sunshine and Moonlight are a different category. Sunshine hosts video, audio, and input as a real streaming session. Moonlight decodes it and sends control back over your normal LAN. It takes real setup, but it's the tested path here for actually driving a desktop, not just watching one. Here's the full stack that worked. KDE Plasma 6 on Wayland, capturing through XDG desktop portal and pipe wire into Sunshine as the host, over a normal home LAN to Moonlight on an Android TV device. Tested setup, openSUSE Tumbleweed, an AMD RX 6650 XT, streaming to a JMGO N1's Pro. Different distro or GPU, same concept, just expect some commands to differ. One Wayland detail that matters, KWin doesn't support WLR export DMABF, the protocol some other compositors use for direct capture. So capture equals portal is the route that worked here. Not necessarily the only one, just the one I know works. Quick checklist before you start. KDE Plasma 6 on Wayland is the tested environment. Your TV needs to actually run the Moonlight app. A Chromecast built-in TV without app support won't cut it. Both devices need to share a real LAN, not a guest network or isolated Wi-Fi. Hardware video encoding makes a real difference. And don't forward Sunshine's ports to the internet unless you actually mean to. On openSUSE, add the game's :tools repository and install Sunshine and Sunshine Firewalled. No app image or Flatpak sandboxing needed for that native package. Other distros, check your own repos first. Sunshine's also on FlatHub. Start it, open the local web interface. Your browser will complain about the certificate. That's expected, it's self-signed. Create your credentials, then set the capture method to portal in configuration. This is the part that trips people up. Open Moonlight on the TV, add your PC. It'll ask you for a PIN. Here's the twist. That PIN shows up on the TV on Moonlight, the client, but you type it in on Sunshine's web interface on the host. That's exactly backwards from what you'd guess. Once paired, starting a stream triggers KDE's own permission dialog, asking which screen to share. That's the screen capture step. Input permissions are separate and come later. Once the stream starts, confirm that video and audio both actually arrive. Then check Sunshine's log for which encoder is active. You want your GPU's hardware encoder there, not a software fallback. Keyboard, mouse, and controller from the client should control the host. If a controller doesn't respond, that's a separate permission path. Usually you input device access, not something the screen capture prompt covers. On my setup, over a normal home network, the desktop felt responsive enough to actually use, not just watch, and audio stayed in sync. That's a real impression from real use, not a measured benchmark. No resolution, bitrate, or round-trip numbers were logged. One honest gap. This runs as a manually started process right now, not a systemd service, so it won't survive a reboot on its own. That's a fix I haven't gotten to yet. If Vanilla Sunshine hits a specific wall on your setup, the portal capture step, or a VAPI driver mismatch, there's Hermes, a fork of Apollo, which is itself a fork of Sunshine. It uses its own kernel module for more direct capture. It's actively maintained, even though it might look abandoned at a glance from its GitHub fork history. Here's what happened when I tried it. I built the kernel module myself, but Secure Boot refused to load it until I enrolled its key through the physical MOK manager screen. That's a real screen from this actual machine, this actual attempt. With Secure Boot enabled here, loading the module required that manual enrollment step. I didn't disable Secure Boot to get around it. Try Vanilla Sunshine first. Only look at Hermes if you hit a wall it's specifically known to fix. A few quick checks, grouped by what's actually failing. Capture problems, no permission dialog, or a black screen with working audio. Check that XDG desktop portal is running and capture equals portal actually took effect. Device problems, no audio on the client. Check Sunshine's audio device selection. Controller not responding. Check input access, separate from screen capture permission. Performance and network, choppy playback, drop resolution or bitrate first to isolate the cause. High latency on a good network, check whether the encoder silently fell back to software. Host not showing up, confirm both devices share a real LAN, not an isolated one. Need to mirror something quickly and your hardware handles Miracast cleanly? Use Miracast. Want a desktop on your TV you can actually drive, gaming, or anything interactive? Sunshine and Moonlight, the setup we just walked through. Hit a specific wall with Vanilla Sunshine and you're comfortable enrolling Secure Boot keys. Look at Hermes, but not as your first move. If Chromecast let you down, this isn't a workaround for that. It's a different, more responsive way to do the whole thing, and it costs you one real setup session to get there. If this saved you the same dead-end afternoon, save the video for setup day. And tell me your distro, GPU, and TV client in the comments, especially whether portal capture and hardware encoding worked for you.